Shabbat Shalom. It's a delight to welcome people back into the building, and it's always a delight to have you on the Bima joining us for a Guitar Shabbat. And as is our custom when it's Guitar Shabbat, we insert a lot more music into the framework of the Friday evening service. We have a song sheet, and the first piece on the song sheet is Ma Tovu. It comes from the Torah, and it's a reminder of the goodness of seeing people arrayed together in a configuration, you might say. And in the narrow sense, we're talking about the words referring to people's homes, and the homes are configured, making up the entire nation of Israel. In the symbolic sense, it's how each and every individual person coming to the synagogue adds to the community. Ma Tovu. On the second handout, it's Shir L'Adonai Shir Chadash. Shir means, come on folks, y'all sing. Shir L'Adonai, sing to God. Shir Chadash, a new song. This actually comes from the book of Psalms, and for the past 500 years, this psalm has been in the Siddur, in the prayer book, in the prayer service. The opening phrase is right from the book of Tehillim, the book of Psalms in the Bible. But Yehuda has taken hold of the message, Shiru, sing a new song, and composed his own melody and incorporated the English wording. Hence, Shir L'Adonai, the song sheet.
She His saving hand. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Koharetz.
Sing a new song. And because it's Shabbos Hanukkah, we're singing a new song. It's a yellow handout, the yellow song sheet. One of the most famous Hanukkah songs ever is called Ma'oz Tzur. Traditionally, people sing Ma'oz Tzur after lighting the Hanukkah flames. Ma'oz Tzur is about 600 to 700 years old, comes from Germany, and the melody that I'll share, and perhaps you know, is the most well-known of all melodies. Again, the melody is probably 500 years old, perhaps older. There are other versions that have developed a bit more recently. There's a Moroccan version, which I don't know, and we'll nearly conclude the service, with a fairly new melody of the Ma'oz Tzur. It's only about 300 years old. That's almost brand new. For now, Ma'oz Tzur on the yellow song sheet. Ma'oz Tzur Yeshuati L'chana El Shabeach Tikon Beit Tefilati V'sham Todan Izabeach Le'et Tachin Matbeach Mitzar Hamna Beach Ozeg Mor B'shir Mizmor Chanukah Mizbeach Ozeg Mor B'shir Mizmor Chanukah Mizbeach. And an English version goes like this. It's not an exact translation, it's poetic, but you get the idea. Rock of ages, let our song praise thy saving power. Thou amidst the raging foes wast our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but thine arm availed us, and thy word broke their sword when our own strength failed us. And thy word broke their sword when our own strength failed us. And you probably caught the word Chanukah or Chanukah Hamizbeach. Hanukkah means dedication. That's what the word means. And when we sing the Ma'oz Tzur, this well-known song from the 1300s, let's say, it's reminding us that the key element of the Maccabees, the Hasmoneans, was to come in and to dedicate the worship space anew. We all talk about the oils lasting for 8 days, but we also know that it was the Maccabees, a band of farmers that gathered together and brought together their neighbors. And time after time, over a battle lasting 2.5 years, series of battles, they began to successfully rout and attack and drive away the Syrian Greeks from various garrisons in the region of ancient Judea, ancient Jerusalem. And then they managed to secure the freedom. We don't often talk about fighting for a just cause. Judaism, whenever possible, always emphasizes light and hope and shalom. And maybe that's why Ma'oz Tzur and the other songs and the well-known prayers that we have don't emphasize too much the warfare and the combat. It was necessary for us to obtain our freedom. But then we picked ourselves up and we continue on. We built the society anew. And that's what Chanukah Mizbeach represents. And reiterating that, turning to the Siddur, page number 5, beginning Friday night in a bit more traditional way, Shalom Aleichem on page number 5. and turning to L'chuna Ranana on page number 11. L'chuna Ranana on page number 11. Again, the opening psalm for Kabbalat Shabbat. Come on, folks, it's time for us to sing together L'chuna Ranana.
I'm not going to play mine this time. I'm going to play a different one. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzuri yishenu, echad ma'afon ha'betodah. Naria, naria, letzuri yishenu, mizmirot naria lo. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzuri yishenu, nekad ma'afon ha'betodah. Naria, naria, letzuri yishenu, mizmirot naria lo. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai.
Page 21, a Mizmor, and then we're going to turn back to the yellow song sheet. But for now, on page 21, Mizmor David. This begins with Havu. And this psalm stands out because this psalm has the phrase, Kol Adonai. It's on page 21, the voice of God. And the phrase Kol Adonai appears 7 times in this psalm. And we all know how important the number 7 is in Jewish tradition. 7 represents Shabbat, but not just the day. 7 represents completion, wholeness, unity, balance, tranquility. That's the number 7. And that's probably why this psalm became associated with both Friday night and Saturday morning. Page 21. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, hishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el kavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai behadar, kol Adonai shover arazim, vayshaber Adonai et arzeh halvanon, vayirkidem kamo egel, Lebanon v'siryon kamo v'nre'emim, kol Adonai chotze lahavot esh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai yacholel ayalot, vayechesof ye'arot, uvehechalo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai oz li'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. On the yellow song sheet, it's song number 5, or 6, it's a little blurry. It's Chanukah, O Chanukah. This is pretty famous. It's called Yemei Chanukah. It starts off in Hebrew, some hundreds of years ago. It's translated into Yiddish, and then it's translated fairly recently into English, and we call it singing Chanukah or Oy Chanukah. And Yehuda has a little twist that he's going to share. Do you want to explain?
Try a little higher. to play with and a lot of kids to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather around the table, we'll give you a treat. Happy songs to sing and a lot of kids to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Al-Hanisim, Beyal HaBurhan, Beyal HaGurot, Beyal HaTshuot, Yacham Milkamot, Shesita Lavotenu, Bayamim Bahem B'zman Hazeh. Al-Hanisim, Beyal HaBurhan, Beyal HaGurot, Beyal HaTshuot, Yacham Milkamot, Shesita Lavotenu, Bayamim Bahem B'zman Hazeh. Al-Hanisim, Beyal HaBurhan, Beyal HaGurot, Beyal HaTshuot, Yacham Milkamot, Shesita Lavotenu, Bayamim Bahem B'zman Hazeh. Al-Hanisim, Beyal HaBurhan, Beyal HaGurot, Beyal HaTshuot, Yacham Milkamot, Shesita Lavotenu, Bayamim Bahem B'zman Hazeh.
Al-Hanisim is the little paragraph that's inserted in the Amidah during the entire week of Hanukkah. Every time we say an Amidah, we insert Al-Hanisim. Al-Hanisim means it's all about the miracles. It's all about the accomplishments of bringing strength and independence and freedom into our lives. It's also survival, having overcome the challenges of war. That's the Al-Hanisim, and later on during the Silent Media, we'll look at it for just briefly, a few moments of silence. For now, we're on page 23. It's the Lachadudi. Lachadudi, first two, last two? First two, last two stanzas, pages 23 and 25.
Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zakor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu elam yuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shimo tiferet b'litilah. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, Ki mekor habaracha, Rosh mikedem nesucha, Sof maaseh b'habash hatila. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin uzmol tifrotzi, Et Adonai taritzi, Al yadish bin partzi, Benis mehava nagila. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela. Ohi v'shalom mater bala, Gam v'simcha v'tzela, Toch emunei am zegula, Bo'ichala. Lechadodi likrat kala, Anei Shabbat nekabela.
page number 27, remaining standing on page number 27, please. The first few stanzas, and tonight, only the beginning of the Mizmor for Shabbat, because I want to remind us that the Mizmor of Shabbat's main focus is Simcha, happiness, Shabbos Hanukkah. And so, if you will, just the first 3 stanzas on the English side. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladdened me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. We're stopping there. You gladdened me. The Hebrew is ki simachtani. You've made me sameach. So on the Hebrew side, Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, lahagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, Alei asor v'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'falecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranen. Ki simachtani Adonai b'falecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranen. Tonight is a celebration of happiness. Remaining standing, the Borcho on page 39b. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam voed. And seated now, the first bracha on the English side, Baruch Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, you completed your work of creation on the 7th day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest and all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, rolling light from darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El chai v'kayom, tamidim lo chaleinu l'olam voed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On the main song sheet, Ahavas Olam, again, this is a modern take on the second bracha of the evening service, which speaks of God's love from the Jewish point of view, from the Torah point of view, fills the universe. God's love is, you might say, a physical part of the reality of all creation. God's love is eternal and enduring and forever. Ahavas Olam on the song sheet.
Ahavas Olam, Ahavas Olam, Beit Yisrael Ama'ata. All the world sings to you, the world sings to you, all the world sings to you, the world sings to you. The song of the trees when wind stirs their leaves, the song of the earth when rain soothes its thirst, the song of the sea when waves are set free. song of the sky when hummingbirds fly. Ahavas Ahavas Beit Yisrael Ama'ata. All the world sings to you, the world sings to you. All the world sings to you, the world sings to you. The song of the trees when wind stirs their leaves. Song of the earth when rain soothes its thirst. The song of the sea when waves are set free. The song of the sky when hummingbirds fly. Ahavas Olam, Beit Yisrael Ama'ata. All the world sings to you, the world sings to you. All the world sings to you, the world sings to you.
V'yavotachal tashem mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 41, Shema. Do you want to do the Shema? Page 41.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Chol levavecha, u'chol nafshecha, u'chol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha, vishinantam levanecha, v'dibartam bam, v'shivtecha v'bitecha, uvlechtecha, Ushak beka uvkamecha, ukshartam leohot al yadecha, vehayulit.
Adonai Elohechem emet. And the Michamocha on page number 44. Michamocha, page 44.
Michamocha ba'lim Adonai, Michamocha ner b'kodesh, Nora te'ilo tosei pele, Nora te'ilo tosei pele, Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Zelianu e'amru, Adonai yimloch le'lam vayed,
V'ne'emar ki v'darai Yaakov ugalo mi'ar chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkivenu, again, Yud has a presentation of Hashkivenu. It's found here on the song sheet. Hashkivenu means, God, we need you. We need you to help us to lie down in peace and in calm and in ease. And if it happens that you and I in our own lives, halavai, are so blessed, we're thinking of people in our own neighborhoods, our own state, our own nation, and people in nations far away who are not so blessed. And we say, God, in order to get it right, you need to have every single person be able to put her or his head down on a pillow with a sense of peace and calm. That's Hashkivenu. Yuda.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Uvro Saleinu Sukkot Shlomecha Lechaim Ushalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. For when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around. And all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There be no more wars, our children will pay one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the water stayed raging. In this maze you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it phase you. No way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. But when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around. And all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There be no more wars, our children will pay one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ulechaim.
Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu l'chaim oshlom etaver olam ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha baruch ata Adonai hapore sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru, the top of page number 46.
Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים את הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות עולם וביום השביעי שבת בנפש שבת בנפש שבת בנפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות עולם
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבו, במות ורחמתי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב במהרה אמן. יהי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם לעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה ברכו לילה מקור חטא ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו amen. Before we rise for the Amidah, please turn for a moment to page 47. A reminder of some of the high notes, because I want us to understand why and where we insert the Al-Hanisim paragraph for Hanukkah. So the opening of every Amidah, as you know, reminds us of our ancestors, our origin point. And look at page number 48, the second bracha. In Hebrew, it's called Gvurot, which literally means the powers of God to help. The powers of God to help. That's kind of long, and so therefore this English editor wrote God's saving care. But you get the idea. On page 49, the third bracha of the Amidah is God is holy. The fourth bracha, fairly long paragraph, talks about Shabbos is holy. This is the Friday night Amidah. Top of page number 50. The fifth bracha talks about, this is written again 1900 plus years ago, when we were slaves and we were just maybe navigating, perhaps occasionally as individuals or clusters of families, fleeing successfully from Rome or not. And hopefully someday we're going to go back to Israel. That's why the fifth bracha is here, because everybody needs a home, a place of safety and security. And that's the fifth bracha, going home, having Israel as strong and vital. And of course, in our own day, 1948, we saw that come to be, but we still think about this, the importance of having a safe place for Jews. The sixth bracha talks about, in general, thank you, God, for life and blessing. It's called modim, which is reminiscent of the Hebrew word todah, which we say in normal modern Hebrew, thank you. And look at the very bottom of the page. In small red ink, you see, on Hanukkah we had Al-Hanisim found on page 430. It makes sense because we're saying thank you in this little section of the prayer. And if you were to not turn right away to page 430, but you were just to look at page 51, you'd see the seventh bracha, the prayer, God, please bless us with peace. Side note, in a moment when we're standing for the silent prayer, if we're following the traditional text, at this point, having reached the bottom of page 50 approximately, people would turn to page 430. And you see here on page 430, the prayer is called Al-Hanisim, which talks about miracles and safety. And that's what Yehuda incorporated when he was singing Oy Chanukah. He went right into Al HaNisim and the prayers before us. The Amida, an opportunity for silent prayer reflection, we rise. Shalom Rav is on page 51. It's the seventh bracha of the Shabbos Amida. It's during the regular daily service, There are 19 blessings in the Amidah. Shalom Rav is the 19th. Shalom Rav is always the last blessing of the Amidah. Afternoon and evening service, Mincha Mariv. Shacharit, Sim Shalom is the sister blessing. The last blessing of every Amidah throughout the entire year is always a blessing, God bring peace into the world, whether it's poetically one or the other. The last blessing Jews say, and the most important of all prayers, every day, is a prayer for peace for everyone. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atah Melech Hador Lechol HaShalom. Ki atah Melech Hador Lechol Shalom. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Etov Einecha Levarech Et Amcha Yisrael Bechol Eit Ubechol Shah Bishlomecha. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
Yishar Koach, Yehuda. Kaddish Shalom on page 54. Yitkadal v'kadash me'rabah b'almot v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevorach, l'olam l'yol me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitosai v'darav v'yitosai v'kudisho, b'rechu, le'lam v'chata v'shirata, tishvadach v'imru, amen. Titkabel tzot v'andon d'chais v'agab v'imru, amen. Yeshua Simaru, amen. Ose shalom avi ase shalom, olem simaru, amen. Just a quick little story and then a couple questions. But first, what would you think is the most famous Jewish symbol of all? Recognizable. What's the most famous Jewish symbol? You louder. Star of David. Most people think it's the Star of David. It's very recognizable. And it has been for the past 600 or 700 years. But from the ancient days, what's the most famous Jewish symbol of all? Take a wild guess. The menorah. Exactly right. The menorah. Yudah got it. If you were to go back 3,000 years into history, the most recognizable Jewish symbol of all is the seven-branched menorah. And for about 1,000 years prior to the holiday of Hanukkah, we had a menorah roughly compared to that, we say. We're not exactly sure of the base, but that was the preeminent symbol of Jewish identity. What comes forth from a menorah? Light. So the preeminent Jewish symbol is to bring light into the everyday. It was considered the most sacred element of all, next to incense and occasionally the animal offerings, but the menorah was sacred to everyone. And now you know why, when the Maccabees were fighting for religious freedom and for safety, after 2.5 years of pitched battle, and they finally entered the temple to clean it up, the priority was not on putting out lox and bagel. The priority was not on sending out greeting cards with a Star of David and stamped. What was the priority? On rekindling the 7-branched menorah. And we all know the tradition of the oil 1 day, 8 day, and so on. But here's the kicker that most adults always fall for. It's not a trick question. How many branches of the menorah remained alight for 8 days until new oil was found? How many branches of the menorah remained alight for 8 days until new oil could be found? 7. It was a 7-branched menorah in the temple. And only years later did we Jews begin to invent what you and I now call a Hanukkah, which is 8 or 9 if you don't want to burn your fingers by having the helper, the shamash. Menorah always means 7. And this is the classic symbolic representation of the menorah, but we also have modern versions. So we have here very artistic menorot here and in the small chapel as well. And I mention this because of something very exciting that happened yesterday. Yesterday, Jewish people from all over the state of Alabama convened in Montgomery, Alabama on the lawn of and then later within the governor's mansion. And it's the first time ever a Hanukkah menorah was kindled in the governor's mansion. That's fantastic. Literally, Jewish history was made in Montgomery, Alabama yesterday. The word had gone out, the message, the invitation had gone out to a number of Jewish federations offices about a month, 6 weeks ago, and people needed to RSVP, and as many wanted to RSVP as they could, we eventually had a limit placed, but we didn't reach the limit. The limit had been requesting no more than 250. About 160 people turned out. People from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile. And the largest contingent came from Mobile. People drove from Mobile and, of course, Birmingham and Montgomery and Huntsville. And we were there for an hour. We were welcomed. We were shown into the public areas of the mansion, which were beautifully decorated with all kinds of flowers. And I don't think I've ever seen that many Christmas trees in one small area in my life, in 4 or 5 very elaborately decorated rooms. Festoon is the word we're talking about. And in one room there was a small electrical menorah on a little table. And next to this beautiful little electric menorah were 2 very large Christmas trees with blue and silver globes and ornaments. I don't know if it was the intent to do the blue and gold, blue and silver kind of a thing, or people just liked the color, which is fine, of course, but we had a little menorah there, and it was a Hanukkah menorah, so 8 plus 1, and after people walked around and pictures were being taken and so on, and there were donuts for whoever wanted to eat, and they were gobbled up, then Coach Bruce Pearl said the brachas, and he lit the Hanukkah flames, and the governor gave a very nice remark about light and warmth, and then I led Ma'oz Tzur, and I said a few brief words, and people were happy. And you saw 160 Jewish people on the lawn of the governor's mansion in Montgomery, which you could say is one of the seats of the political state of Alabama. And I mention this because the entire purpose of Hanukkah, which originated grassroots from people who were fighting for their safety and the safety of their own families, was to establish a Jewish state. Once again, the term is Medina. That was the goal of the Hashmon clan. The Hashmon clan, called Hashmonaim, in English Hasmoneans, nicknamed later Maccabees, to establish a location, a region where Jews can live their lives in safety and freedom in public expression of their identities within a Medina of Yehuda, the nickname of the geographic region, Yehuda. And that name, Yehuda, stuck. And that name, Yehuda, became synonymous with a male as a Yehudi and a female as a Yehudit. And later, when translation and transliteration become a norm, Yehuda becomes Judah, Yehudi becomes Judais, Yehudit becomes Jewish. And Judaism comes from the Medina of Yehuda, which the Hashmon clan, in fighting for freedom, established. And that flashed through my mind yesterday as I saw Jewish people welcomed to one of the seats of Medina of Alabama, you might say, with happiness, with pride, with proclamation of identity. Who would have thunk it? And we can only go forward on into the future. And I'm proud to say that our sister had presented a Hanukkah menorah to the governor as a token of our esteem, and she was delighted and appreciative. And I spoke with one of the organizers of the event afterwards, and she said that she's going to make sure that it's placed properly in a special location to be used for years to come. So we say, Happy Hanukkah. The Medina of Alabama in some way represents the acceptance that we Jews building Medinat Yehuda launched for so many years ago. Happy Hanukkah.
Every car had menorah.
We're rising for the Aleinu, and in a little while, after the Aleinu, we'll be concluding with Mos Sur, a newer melody, and then we'll also be concluding with Yehuda's Oseh Shalom. For now, the Aleinu on page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gdula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlochim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser haaretz Moshav Yikaro Bashamayim Mimal Ushchinatu Zo Begav He Meromim Hu Eloheinu Enod Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulato Kakatu Bitorato Vyodata Hayom Pohashevota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim Bashamayim Mimal Vial Haaretz Mitachat Enod Kakatu b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yihye Adonai echad Ushemo echad. In a moment, Mourner's Kaddish on page 58, and then thereafter, that new Mos Sur that I'll explain about in just a moment. For now, on page 58, remembering with great love Sarah Berenti, Shana Gittel Miller, Rebecca Miller, Akiva Goldhar, Bessie Mattis, Harry Cohen, Sam Linick, Mike Stein, Edith Layden, Moshe Stein, Dora Rosenthal, Gwen Dean, Abraham Mazel, William Abrams, Carol Worth, Emma Jett, Morris Mishevsky. Are there any other names to mention this evening? Perhaps those at home have a name to share? Those at home are invited to rise at this time. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah, be'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zaman karif v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevarach la'olam l'olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'a miran ba'olma v'yimeru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Our prayers of shalom go forth for all those who are grieving at this time. Quick reminder, tomorrow night, Zoom Havdalah, we're going to have brief Havdalah because after brief Havdalah, we're going to have a mini Hanukkah concert on the Zoom Havdalah. So we're excited. It's 7 o'clock p.m. because that's when we're doing Havdalah. So those joining in are invited to have their Hanukkah, their Hanukkah menorahs ready to light immediately after Havdalah. Pardon me. And we're turning back to the yellow song sheet for Mo'od Sur. As I mentioned earlier, Mo'od Sur is very well known. It's perhaps the most famous of all traditional Hanukkah songs. The words go back to the 1300s. And having done some reading of articles, it seems that the scholars have traced the current well-known Ma'od Sur Yeshuati melody to German tradition. So the melody is 500 years old. This melody that you're going to hear in just a moment, that will be played in a moment over the speaker, comes from an early conductor. His name is Benedetto Marcello. I'm told that he was from the time period and from the school of Vivaldi, younger then, but 1720s. And he composed this melody, so this is called the Italian melody, you might say. And there are other melodies as well. It's just a way of singing Mo'od Sur in a slightly different manner, and then we'll conclude with Yehuda's Oseh Shalom.
Ma'od Sur Yeshuati lecha na'eh לשבח, תיכון בית תפילתי, ושם תודה נזבח, לעת תכין מטבח, מצר המנבח, אז אגמור בשיר מזמור, חנוכת המזבח.
I love that. Yehuda Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Bimrama, Hu Yaseh Shalom Leinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Himeru Amen, Himeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimrama, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Himeru Amen, Himeru Oseh Shalom Bimrma Hu Yaseh Shalom Later Ve'al Kol Yisrael Meru Amin Meru Amin.
Yehuda, thank you very much, Shkoyach Yehuda, for always bringing music and ruach and lebedik sense here. We love it when you come, and thank you. We love you. We appreciate your being here. And to all those who are joining in at home, we wish you the best. We love you. May God bless you with peace and health and safety in all ways. Warmth during the coming winter challenges. By the way, we are open tomorrow, so if you're accustomed to coming to Shabbos morning services, we'll be here. May God watch over and may you be blessed, and looking forward to seeing you in the near future. Until that point,